Go ahead and call this Lakewood Planning Commission meeting to order, November the 19th, 2025. Could we please have roll call?
Robert Estrada,
Here.
Mark Hare,
Here.
Lynn Larson,
Here.
Philip Lindholm,
Here.
Ellen Talbot. Sharon Wallace is excused. Philip Combs,
Present.
you have quorum.
Thank you very much. Go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting?
Approval as read, as sent.
We have a first.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve minutes from October 15th as presented.
Second?
Thank you. Yeah, I was just making sure. Did you get those?
Just need to say all in favor?
Oh, yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. All right. Any changes to today's plan?
No, Mr.
agenda?
Chair.
Great. Well, let's jump into, do we have any public comment or there's no one here, but,
There's no one here I don't see, and there's also no one online, Mr. Chair.
okay. Well, let's go ahead and close any public comment. No hearing.
Correct.
Someone.
All right.
Oh,
Hi. Hi, Bill. Well, we're just closing public comment. Was there any public comment tonight from either of our attendees? All right. Let's go ahead and close that up then, and let's move into our unfinished business. Continued discussion on the alcohol production and sales locations.
thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm just going to turn this over to Planning and Public Works Director Jeff Remack, who's here at the podium to walk through this information that's in front of you on your screens. And if you're looking at the packet, it starts on page 4.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. Last time when we got together, there were some questions that we said we would go back and we would look and find some answers for that the Commission had come with. Number one, those are kind of surrounding like police phone calls for service to bar establishments and taverns. That was a question. And then the other was jurisdictional research into buffer surrounding bars. So when I start out today, I'm going to kind of walk through those items first and address those before we really move on to what the proposed changes are. So regarding phone calls for service or calls for service for the police department, I did reach out to their analyst and spoke to them. She had all of 2024. So in 2024, there were 49,810 calls for service. And of those, 62 were to alcohol establishments. So when we look at that, there's 7 standalone bars that we look at in Lakewood. There are quite a few that are restaurants that serve alcohol, but when we're looking at just standalone bars, there are 7 that we're looking at. So when you look at the total number of calls, it is 0.001% of all calls for service are related to bars. So then moving into 2025, we don't have the percentage for that yet. We're not done with the year to date, but just it's trending lower. Right now, there are 49 calls to service to those same locations. So stats behind that. Looking at buffer requirements in other jurisdictions, that was one of the questions that came up. Are there buffer requirements that exist throughout the state and anywhere else that we've seen? So we did go ahead and reviewed the state law. We looked at the Liquor and Cannabis Board regulations, as well as zoning practices for other peer cities. And we have not found any cities in Washington that use alcohol buffers in relation to their setback that would be their daycares, which we were previously speaking about, anything of that nature. There's no state requirement and there's no standard planning practice to create a buffer setback from any sort of bar. The one thing we do see is the land use conflicts that can come in. No documented conflicts exist. We looked at that also. alcohol establishments and daycares. We reached out to surrounding jurisdictions, asked about that as well. They said, no, we haven't. We asked the same question. Do you have any buffer setbacks? Looked at their code. Do you have any issues? They're like, no. They tend to operate at different hours was the standard response that we got back in looking at that. The only thing we did find is that there is an ability in the WAC for an alcohol impact area, but they are the only state allowed setback that you can have. And really, those are not around locations that serve alcohol. They're about purchasing and walking off with alcohol. And really, they're related to chronic in-street drinking, things of that nature. It's a documented process you have to go to with statistics that got to sit to go ahead and even qualify for that before you go to the Liquor Cannabis Board. We would not meet that threshold, and the only 3 cities in the state of Washington that have those are Spokane, Everett, and Seattle. That went over the information we said we bring forward. Any questions on that before I move to the next section?
Mr. Estrada?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the distant requirement, none for childcare. I assume there is one for schools.
No.
There's none for schools either.
No, there's not really a conflict when you look at it. Schools might have a nighttime atmosphere where they're doing plays or after school events, but the hours of operation between a typical bar or tavern as well as a school or daycare there's not a conflict that's been in existence.
But they are open from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Bars are.
They are, but if you were to visit a bar, the typical bar, you're not going to see the peak of their hours are not used during the daytime. You're going to see after work get-togethers, things of that nature. So they do overlap.
Right. And same was true for a childcare center for that matter.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Some childcare centers are, on average, when we looked at those, they're open till about 7 p.m. The
Thank you.
latest. No problem. The next section I'm going to kind of go through. I'm sorry, were there any other questions? I apologize. All right, moving forward. So I was going to go ahead and go through a code walkthrough, really kind of some of the proposed changes and what we're looking at. So I'm going to start with the land use tables. So the changes that we're looking at in the land use tables is that brewery production would be permitted in neighborhood commercial, the central business district, commercial zones, industrial, and MF3, but really only the MF3 with the 1 annotation, so the station sub area. In looking at distilleries, they would be permitted in neighborhood commercial, central business district, commercial, and industrial zones. Bars and taverns would be permitted use in traffic-oriented commercial, central business district, and commercial zones only. So no neighborhood commercial, industrial, anything of that nature. Okay. There are some that we're eliminating or compressing down the uses. So if you look at microbreweries and brew pubs, those are being eliminated and covered under breweries rather than a separate line item. Small craft distilleries is also being eliminated and combined under distilleries for their allowed uses and places. So we're going to move on to definition updates. Any questions on those? I typically ask as we're moving through because it's easier to stay on that topic. Okay, Nope.
Yeah.
no questions. I'll move on to definitions. So the definitions and what we're looking at clarifies the distinctions.
Sorry,
of-
Jeff.
Sure, yes,
We do have one.
no problem.
The breweries category, brew pubs, many cases brewing their own beer, sell it for off-premises consumption by the jug.
Yeah,
Is that still viable under the?
Yes, it
changes?
is. So sales is an ancillary use of any of the brew pubs or the breweries. Okay. Moving forward, the definition update, really when we go through that, it clarifies distinctions between bar, tavern, brew pub, nightclub, and tasting rooms. And really it's to align those production definitions with the Liquor and Cannabis Board licensing. So you'll see as you move through the packet, those are highlighted in red, the additions and then the strike through. There is an update to the parking table. In looking at the parking table, it had 2 definitions in it. We added all the definitions to it so that it was clear when it comes up as to what the parking standard is. That is 2 spaces per 500 gross feet of floor area. And then the policy alignment. So in these changes, they kind of support the redevelopment in the commercial districts and advance the council's economic development goals and remove unnecessary regulatory burden, and really what we're looking at, and barriers. Staff recommendation based on our research is exactly what we presented to you, no barriers, and the changes that are proposed, right? At this point, that was really the end of my presentation. Any questions there may be pending Any objection, the next steps we would be looking at would be to move forward at the next meeting with actual regular meeting potential action.
I don't have any questions for you. Any other follow-up? Thank you very much. That was a nice, concise summary.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Looks like you've done a pretty good job of cleaning things up. and
Yeah,
Making it more straightforward.
thanks for the homework too.
Yeah, not a problem. Team effort.
Well,
Mr. Chair, before
Yeah.
we move on, I just want to say thanks to the staff for indulging us in this conversation, because I think this is what council really wanted, was more of a developed conversation at our level before we're forwarding this guidance, this recommendation to them. And I think we've done a phenomenal job of achieving that goal and shining the light in the corners, if you will.
yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right, let's see here. I don't think let me turn it over to you, Ms.
This is
Spear.
going to be the shortest planning commission
So,
meeting of the
I-
year. There's nothing else for us.
We accept.
Okay, there's nothing else on tonight's agenda. You don't have Councilmember Boki here to provide an update to you. I will just let you know that on Monday night, council adopted the budget as well as the fee schedule and the tax levy rate for the city for 2026. So if you want to have that in your head, you're welcome to watch the recording, which is now available through the city's YouTube channel. The next meeting for the for the city council isn't until December because of now they only meet 3 weeks a month. So the next time will be following Thanksgiving. As far as the planning commission goes, the next meeting for you would be on December 3rd. So also after Thanksgiving and into the first meeting of the month, that is scheduled to be the last one for the year. So that would be where you would potentially be taking action on this item. And then you'll also have a continuation of the discussion that started a few meetings ago regarding the Title 12 Transportation and Infrastructure Public Works Code update and the Engineering Service Manual update. So those two items will be there. And then just as starting to think about it, because it's the last meeting of the year, when you come back in January, it will be the first order of business to elect a chair and a vice chair. You will have 2 new members because of the results of the election. And
Have they been selected?
no, they are going to be interviewed by the mayor here in the next couple of weeks and then confirmed through the process at the council. So come January, they'll know who they are, you'll know who they are, and then the election can happen. And also at that first meeting will be a review of the 2026 work plan for the commission. So that's it
great.
from me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Combs, I had one
Yeah.
other thing. Ms. Spear, I think it'd be helpful for the public if we could publish the meeting dates in advance. It seems like we're publishing them kind of one at a time. I think if the public could look ahead and say, oh gosh, these are the meeting dates for January, February, I think it'd be a good thing.
The dates are on the calendar that's on the homepage of our website. So if you go down at the very bottom, you'll see all of the meetings for boards and commissions are on a calendar there. And I think, but I'll correct it if it's not, when you go to the planning commission page, it says it meets on the first and third Wednesdays at 6:30.
Sure, but we often vary from that schedule. So it seems to me if, for example, when you go to 2025 and you go to December, it might list December 3rd, I can't remember, but it would not say right now that we don't have another meeting in December. So I think making sure the public knows in advance, that'd be a good thing.
We can do our best to keep that updated. Yes.
Thank you.
Chris. Ms. Spear, so at our next meeting is when we take action on the alcohol production and sales use locations.
Correct.
Is there anything to prevent us from doing it tonight if the commission so desired?
No, actually, if you feel ready to do that, you're able to do that tonight.
Just bring this up in case,
Yeah.
we're ready, whether we are or not.
Make a motion.
Yeah, how does everyone feel about that? Any reason not to consider it tonight?
I feel comfortable.
I'm good.
I make a motion that we do in fact accept the alcohol production and sales use locations and regulations.
Second?
Just to clarify, as recommended by city staff and shown today.
Right.
All right. Yeah, thank you. So we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you.
All right, so that would have been resolution 2024-04, I believe. Either that or it's 06. We'll get that to you for signature, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
So now do we still need to meet on December 4th?
I knew that's where you were going, but yes, because there will be that conversation regarding the engineering services manual in Title 12.
We got to keep this guy around. That's good. Yeah, Lynn?
Thank you.
I'd like to see sometime in the near future that we revisit the tree ordinance and how it's working and whether it's as we've had a little time in grade with it now. I'd like to see if we can understand it and make sure that we did something right or whether we need to modify it and make something better.
When you say tree ordinance, you're talking about the tree preservation code that was adopted a few years ago? Or are you talking about, for instance, our climate change work and the urban forestry program that's getting started?
The permitting and the requirements for tree cover
Yeah.
in
The tree preservation ordinance. Yeah.
Okay, we can
Okay.
bring you a summary of, for instance, the number of permits taken out to remove trees, or if there's been fees collected, those sorts of things, if that's what you're looking for.
I'd like to see if the compliance with the ordinance as written is being problematic, or whether whether we're getting pushback from homeowners, builders, the industry. I've gotten a few calls myself about it, and I think it's worthy of reconsideration and updating, make sure we did the right thing.
We'll try to gather that information for the 3rd. If not, then for sure, we can bring it to you in January.
Okay, thank you.
Is it okay if we put it into January?
Sure.
Just so we can have time on it and there's
sometimes
not a rush on it since
Okay.
it's been
There-
passed for a couple
no
of years.
real rush, but
Yeah.
I think it's something
Chair.
that bears attention.
Yeah,
Just
that's
add
fine.
one addition to that request, Ms. Spear, just because it's come up very recently in one of our local municipalities. If you haven't seen, Lacey is dealing with quite the tree issue at the moment. Looks like they just topped about 300 trees that they had been advised were good for urban planting, if you will. They've come to find out that it's negatively impacted the environment, the infrastructure that they were planted in, and they are now tearing them all out and having to replace them. With our tree code, I don't know if we have a specific species that we are have been advised to inject into our infrastructure improvements, but I think it's worth asking the question if there are species requirements or what our going guidance is, if there may be some lessons learned there.
Sure. Just off the top of my head, you have a tree preservation ordinance which says these types of trees by size, whatever the type is, need to be preserved if they're a certain diameter at breast height, right? And then you have the special consideration of the Gary Oaks, which is considered a critical area because of the habitat it provides, right?
Those are
So-
already existing.
Right, right. That's the one tree that's really separated from all of the others. But yes, we can bring you some information on that as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. We'll see you back on December
December 3rd.
3rd.